The autumn leaves crunched under my boots as I stood in the dimly lit parking lot of my apartment complex in Burlington, Vermont, the crisp October air biting at my fingertips. My phone buzzed relentlessly in my hand, my mother's name flashing on the screen like a warning sign I couldn't ignore. I hesitated, knowing this call wasn't going to be pleasant, not after what happened at my sister Brooke's engagement party 3 nights ago. I'm Wendy Parker, 27 years old, a senior account manager at Velmark Automation, a company that builds cutting-edge robotics for manufacturing plants across the Northeast. My life was solid $80,000 a year, a cozy apartment I'd bought outright, and a growing investment portfolio that gave me security my family could only dream of. But to my mother Victoria and my older sister Brooke, I was the family failure, the daughter who dared to choose a career in factory work over their carefully curated world of social status and appearances. "Wendy, you've humiliated us for the last time," my mother's voice hissed through the phone, sharp enough to cut through the evening chill. "You think you're better than us with your little job? You're done. Don't come back to this family ever." My heart pounded, my knuckles whitening around the phone. "Mom, please, I just told the truth about my work. I didn't mean to upset anyone," I pleaded, my voice cracking. "Truth?" she scoffed. "You embarrassed Brooke in front of her fiancé's family, flaunting your so-called success. You're no longer a Parker. Stay away." The line went dead, leaving me staring at the blank screen, the weight of her words sinking in like a stone. The Burlington skyline glowed faintly in the distance, the soft hum of Church Street's nightlife, a cruel contrast to the silence now echoing in my chest. Growing up in the Parker household was like living in a glass house, beautiful from the outside, but one wrong move and everything shattered. My mother's obsession with status wasn't just vanity. It stemmed from a scandal decades ago when my grandfather, a once respected local politician, was exposed for embezzling campaign funds. The shame drove Victoria to rebuild the family name, turning our sprawling colonial home in Burlington's affluent South End into a stage for her perfect life. She hosted charity galas, served on every prestigious board, and ensured Brooke, her golden child, followed the script. Marry well, smile for the cameras, and never let the neighbors suspect you're anything less than flawless. I, on the other hand, was the glitch in her narrative. After college, I turned down law school and marriage proposals to build a career at Velmark, managing million-dollar contracts for clients like Peterson Manufacturing. To Victoria, my choice was a betrayal, a reminder of the family's past she'd worked so hard to bury. "Why can't you be more like Brooke?" she'd sigh at family dinners, her eyes flicking to my sister, who'd mastered the art of charming Burlington's elite. The engagement party was the final straw. Brooke's fiancé, Derek, came from a wealthy family, and Victoria wanted to impress his parents by painting Brooke as the successful daughter. When Derek's mother asked about my job, I answered honestly. "I manage client accounts for industrial robotics, complex projects, international clients, that sort of thing." I thought I was just making conversation, but Victoria's glare told me I'd crossed a line. Later, she cornered me in the kitchen, her voice low and venomous. "You couldn't just say you're an office worker? You had to make Brooke look small?" I stood my ground. "I'm not going to lie about my life to make someone else feel better." That defiance cost me my family, or so I thought. As I trudged back to my apartment, the autumn wind swirling leaves around my ankles, I felt the familiar sting of being the outcast, but this time it was different. The finality in Victoria's voice wasn't just anger, it was a door slamming shut. I unlocked my apartment, the warmth of my minimalist living room doing little to ease the chill in my bones. My phone buzzed again, not my mother, but a notification from Instagram. A mutual friend, Clara Henderson, had posted a photo from the engagement party, tagging Brooke and Victoria in a glowing caption about family unity. The comments were brutal. "Where's Wendy? Did she get kicked out already?" Followed by laughing emojis. Clara, a childhood friend turned social climber, had always fueled my mother's disdain, whispering critiques about my unladylike ambition. Seeing her post, clearly meant to sting, made my stomach twist. Had she been the one to escalate this, feeding Victoria's paranoia about my embarrassing honesty? I tossed my phone onto the couch, trying to shake the betrayal, but another buzz stopped me cold. A text from an unknown number. Urgent. Family financial matters need your attention. Contact Benjamin Harris. Northwell Financial Services. As soon as possible. I froze, my pulse racing. Financial matters? I hadn't spoken to my family about money in years, and after tonight's call, I was supposedly no one to them. Why would a financial advisor reach out now? I googled Northwell Financial Services legit, a small firm downtown. My mind raced with possibilities. Was this about my father's old estate? Or something worse? I typed a quick reply. Who is this? Why me? No response came, but the message's cryptic urgency gnawed at me. I sank onto my couch, the glow of Burlington's streetlights filtering through my window, casting long shadows across the room. Something was wrong, very wrong, and I had a sinking feeling that the family I'd just been cast out of was about to pull me back into a storm I couldn't escape. What had Victoria and Brooke done? And why was my name tied to their mess? As I sat there in the dim glow of my apartment, the unknown text message staring back at me like a ghost from a life I'd just been exiled from, I couldn't shake the unease twisting in my gut. Why now? Right after Victoria's brutal disowning call? Would some financial advisor named Benjamin Harris be reaching out about family matters? I paced the hardwood floors of my one-bedroom haven, the Burlington city lights flickering outside like distant fireflies, my mind replaying the toxic undercurrents that had defined the Parker family for as long as I could remember. Victoria's obsession with perfection wasn't just superficial. It was a fortress built on the ruins of my grandfather's scandal, where he'd siphoned funds from his political campaign to fund a lavish affair that exploded in the local papers, leaving our names synonymous with deceit in Burlington's whispering circles ever since. She'd clawed her way back by curating an image of untouchable elegance, hosting those ostentatious charity events at our South End home, where every napkin fold and floral arrangement screamed, "We're above reproach." Brooke, my golden child sister, had always been her perfect accomplice, gliding through life with part-time gigs at upscale boutiques that barely covered her designer handbag habit, while marrying Derek, a mid-level banker from a respectable family, to seal the facade. Me? I was the crack in the mirror, the daughter who'd chosen Velmark automation over Victoria's approved paths like event planning or real estate, where I could network properly instead. I thrived in boardrooms negotiating robotic system deals, my $80,000 salary, plus bonuses, funding a life of quiet independence, including that investment portfolio now topping $150,000, all while they dismissed me as the factory girl scraping by. The rejection stung deeper than I admitted, echoing years of snide comments at holiday dinners. "Wendy, darling, when are you going to find a real job? Something that doesn't involve machines," Victoria would say, her voice dripping with disdain, while Brooke chimed in with a pitying smile. "Yeah, sis, you deserve better than that grind." But now, with the disowning fresh like a slap, I decided to test the waters 2 days later. On a foggy Saturday morning, I drove to the family home, the colonial mansion with its manicured lawns and rose bushes that Victoria tended like sacred relics, only to find my key no longer fit the gleaming new deadbolts on the front door. I rattled the handle in disbelief, the cold metal biting into my palm, as Mr. Henderson, our nosy neighbor, and Clara's father, peered from his window with a hesitant wave that screamed awkward pity. Had Victoria spread the word already, painting me as the rebellious outcast? Humiliation burned in my cheeks as I sat in my car, engine idling, staring at the house that held my childhood memories. Family game nights turned tense critiques. Brooke's Sweet 16 bash, where I was sidelined for not fitting the glam vibe, and that one explosive argument 5 years ago when I announced my job at Velmark, Victoria gasping, "Manufacturing? We'll be the laughingstock." I tried calling Brooke, my fingers trembling as I dialed, but it went straight to voicemail. "Hey, it's Brooke. Leave a message if it's fabulous." I choked out. Brooke, it's me. Mom's locked me out. What's going on? Call me back, please. Silence followed. Days of it, amplifying the isolation as I threw myself into work, burying the hurt in client meetings and project deadlines at Velmark, where my boss, Gregory Walsh, pulled me aside one afternoon in his sleek office overlooking the industrial park. Wendy, the Peterson contract is yours for the expansion $2.8 million deal, and they want you specifically, he said with a grin, but his eyes narrowed at my distracted nod. Everything okay? You seem off. I forced a smile. Just family stuff. Gregory, nothing I can't handle. But inside, the irony twisted like a knife, thriving professionally while unraveling personally. That evening, as rain pattered against my windows, I finally called Benjamin Harris, the mysterious advisor, my voice steady despite the storm inside. This is Wendy Parker. Who are you? And why are you contacting me about my family? His tone was measured, professional, with a hint of urgency. Miss Parker, thank you for calling. I'm handling your mother and sister's investment portfolios, and you're listed as the primary beneficiary and emergency contact paperwork from 8 months ago. We need to meet. It's critical. Confusion flooded me. Beneficiary? After they'd just cast me out? That can't be right. They've disowned me. I stammered, but he insisted. Please, come to my office tomorrow at 10 a.m. I can't discuss details over the phone. The next morning, under a drizzly sky that mirrored my mood, I navigated Burlington's downtown traffic to Northwell Financial Services, a nondescript brick building tucked between a coffee shop and a bookstore, where Benjamin, a mild-mannered man in his 50s with wire-rimmed glasses and a rumpled suit, greeted me with a grave handshake. Miss Parker, sit down. This isn't easy. He spread documents across his desk. Charts and statements that looked like a battlefield of red ink. Your mother and sister have made some unfortunate decisions. They've liquidated retirement accounts, mortgaged the house heavily, and poured everything into what we now know is a Ponzi scheme, Grandview Investment Partners. My breath caught. I'd heard about Ponzi schemes trending on Reddit threads in r, divided by personal finance, where victims shared horror stories of slick scammers using fake apps and celebrity endorsements to lure people in, promising 25% returns on eco-friendly real estate developments that never existed. How bad? I whispered. Scanning the papers. About $400,000 lost, combined. The house is mortgaged to $550,000 on a $600,000 value. Retirement funds drained. Even Brooke's 401 cashed out. But then he revealed the new layer. The secret debt that hit like a punch. Brooke had been hiding a gambling addiction, racking up $50,000 in online poker losses on sites like those exposed in recent TikTok exposés about predatory apps targeting young adults, using the investment scheme to flip her debts into wins that never came. She confided in me last month, begging for discretion, Benjamin admitted. But it's all intertwined now. Anger surged through me. How dare they live in denial while sinking so deep? I demanded. Why me? They hate me. He sighed. Your father insisted before he passed, said you were the responsible one. Leaving his office with a folder of doom, my mind reeled. But the drive home brought an unexpected detour when Derek called Brooke's fiancé, his voice tense. Wendy, we need to talk. Meet me at the Lakeside Cafe. There, overlooking Lake Champlain's choppy waters, he looked disheveled, confessing. Brooke's a mess. She told me about the debts, the scheme, but swore it was under control. Now with you cut off, I don't know if I can go through with the wedding. His words fueled my confusion and budding fury. You knew about her gambling. He nodded shamefacedly. Tried to help, but she said the investments would fix it. Fake testimonials, urgent webinars, all those trending tactics scammers use. I snapped. And you let her drag Victoria into it. He shrugged helplessly. They thought it was their big break. Storming out, the confrontation left me seething. How had their delusions spiraled so far? Back home, poring over the documents, I calculated their monthly shortfall. $4,500 needed versus $800 income, collections, calls looming like vultures. A quick search on my laptop revealed Grandview's collapse in the news, arrests for wire fraud, but one detail chilled me. A whistleblower post on Reddit's r, divided by scams, mentioned insider tips that some victims had been targeted through social media ads tailored to Burlington's affluent retirees, ads Victoria must have clicked during her endless Facebook scrolling for charity events. The pieces clicked, her obsession with status had blinded her to the red flags. That night, as I debated confronting them, my phone rang. Brooke, finally. Wendy, don't hang up, we're in trouble, she sobbed. Mom's ignoring it all, but Benjamin said you know now. I bit back. Yeah, I know about the $400,000 hole, the mortgages, your gambling, secret, everything. Her gasp was audible. How did you? Please, help us. But before I could respond, she dropped the bomb. There's more. The scammers are threatening lawsuits if we speak out, claiming we were accomplices. What do we do? My heart raced. Lawsuits? Accomplices? This wasn't just ruin, it was potential criminal entanglement, pulling me deeper into their chaos whether I wanted it or not. The revelation from Brooke hung in the air like a thunderclap, her voice trembling over the phone as she begged for help. The threat of lawsuits from the scammers twisting this financial nightmare into something potentially criminal, and I felt a surge of fury mixed with reluctant pity. How had their desperation dragged me, the banished daughter, into the role of savior? Accomplices? Brooke, this is insane, I snapped, my voice echoing in the quiet of my apartment, as Burlington's evening traffic hummed faintly outside, the rain now a steady drum against the windows. You and Mom gambled away everything, including your futures, and now you're facing legal threats? I'm coming over now. I grabbed my keys, the folder of documents from Benjamin Harris clutched under my arm, and drove through the slick streets to the family home, the colonial mansion's lights glowing warmly from afar, like a deceptive beacon of stability. But up close, the wilting rose bushes and uncollected mail hinted at the decay within. My heart pounded as I rang the doorbell, the chime echoing through the house like a summons, and after what felt like an eternity, Brooke opened the door, her eyes red-rimmed and makeup smudged, looking nothing like the polished golden child I'd always envied. Wendy, thank God you have to fix this, she whispered, pulling me inside the foyer, where the air smelled of stale coffee and desperation. The antique grandfather clock notably absent, sold off perhaps to feed their delusions. Victoria emerged from the living room, her posture rigid but her face etched with lines I'd never noticed before, her designer blouse rumpled as if she'd slept in it. What are you doing here? I told you you're not welcome, she barked, but her voice cracked, lacking the venom from our last call. Benjamin Harris filled me in. Mom, the Ponzi scheme. The $400,000 vanished into thin air, the mortgaged house teetering on foreclosure. I said, spreading the documents on the coffee table with a deliberate slap, the papers fanning out like evidence in a trial. Victoria's eyes widened, her hand flying to her mouth. How dare you pry into our affairs? But Brooke interjected, sobbing, Mom, stop, she's our beneficiary. Dad made sure of it. The mention of Dad hit like a gut punch, stirring memories of his quiet strength before the cancer took him 10 years ago. And suddenly, an emotional twist unraveled as Brooke pulled out a yellowed envelope from a drawer, handing it to me with trembling fingers. He left this for you, Wendy said to open, if we ever needed the responsible one. I tore it open, my eyes scanning his familiar scrawl. Wendy, my practical girl. If Victoria and Brooke falter, guide them. Promise me you'll use your head, not just your heart. Love, Dad. Tears stung my eyes. The past promised a bittersweet anchor in this storm, empowering me, even as it broke my heart. Dad had seen what they refused to, trusting me with their salvation. He knew, I whispered, folding the letter carefully. He knew I'd be the one to clean up your mess. The confrontation escalated as I detailed the scam's mechanics, drawing from Reddit threads I'd scoured on r divided by scams and r divided by personal finance, where victims described the same glossy brochures, fake webinars with urgency tactics like limited spots remaining, and personalized social media ads targeting Burlington's upper crust, preying on fears of outliving savings. You fell for it because it promised the status you crave, 25% returns on non-existent real estate projects, I accused, my voice rising. Brooke collapsed onto the sofa, confessing more. It started with my gambling, Wendy online poker apps that hooked me with free credits, trending on TikTok as easy side hustles. But I lost $50,000 before the investments seemed like a way out. Victoria paced, her heels clicking on the hardwood. We thought we were smart, Margaret. From the garden club introduced us. She swore by them. But then came the surprising revelation. A bombshell that amplified the drama. A quick search on my phone during the tense silence revealed a local news article exploding online. The Grandview Ponzi scheme, tied to a public scandal involving Clara Henderson's husband, Mr. Henderson. As a low-level recruiter who funneled neighbors into the trap for commissions, his arrest splashed across Burlington's forums and Twitter threads with hashtags like #BurlingtonScamBust trending, exposing how he'd used community events to lure victims, including Victoria and Brooke. Clara's husband? The neighbor who's always waving like he's innocent? I exclaimed, showing them the screen where comments piled up. The Hendersons ruined family's poetic justice if they lose everything too. Victoria gasped, sinking into her armchair, the betrayal from her supposed ally shattering her composure. That witch, she vouched for them at the charity luncheon. The room crackled with tension, emotions boiling over as Brooke wailed, "We're ruined." Wendy creditors calling nonstop, the bank threatening foreclosure in weeks, and now these lawsuit threats from the scammers, claiming we referred others and could be seen as accomplices if we testify. I stood tall, the empowerment surging through me like adrenaline, the years of being underestimated fueling my resolve. You locked me out, called me an embarrassment for building a real life at Velmark, managing multi-million-dollar deals while you chased illusions, I said, my voice steady but laced with hurt. But Dad was right, I'm the one with the means to save you. My salary, my savings, I've got the financial security you mocked. Victoria's defiance crumbled, her eyes pleading. What do you want from us? An apology. More than that, I replied, the climax peaking in this moment of raw confrontation. I'll help pay off the urgent debts, restructure everything but on my terms. No more dismissing my career, no more status games. You'll both get jobs, stick to budgets I approve, and take financial classes. Every big decision goes through me and Benjamin. Give up your delusions, or lose it all. They exchanged glances, the weight of their choices hanging heavy. Brooke nodding tearfully while Victoria whispered, "Fine, we agree." But as I outlined the plan, a nagging doubt crept in. What if this control was just the beginning of a deeper revenge, or would it heal us? The turning point locked in, their fate now in my hands, setting the stage for the hard road ahead. The living room of the Parker family home, once a shrine to Victoria's obsession with status, felt like a courtroom as I laid out my terms, the weight of Dad's letter still burning in my pocket, its words guide them. Wendy, fueling my resolve to pull my mother and sister back from the brink of their $400,000 Ponzi scheme disaster. The Burlington evening cast long shadows through the windows, the absence of the Persian rug and heirloom furniture, stark reminders of their financial freefall. And as I stood over the coffee table, notebook in hand, I felt a mix of grim satisfaction and exhaustion. This wasn't just about saving them. It was about rewriting the toxic script that had cast me as the family failure for years. Here's the deal, I said, my voice firm as Victoria and Brooke sat stiffly on the sofa, their faces a mix of resentment and desperation. I've already wired $50,000 to stop the foreclosure proceedings and cover the most pressing credit card debts, but this isn't a free pass. Every expense over $500 goes through me. You'll both enroll in online financial literacy courses, think those trending, Udemy ones from R, divided by personal finance, teaching, budgeting basics, and you're getting jobs. No more charity luncheons or part-time boutique gigs to look pretty. Real work. Victoria's eyes flashed with indignation. Jobs? At my age? I haven't worked since your father's company pension started. Brooke, still teary, mumbled, I can't do a 9 to 5, Wendy, I've got wedding planning. I cut them off, channeling the precision I used managing Velmark Automation's million-dollar contracts. You lost that luxury when you bet the house on a scam. Mom, you're 68, not dead. Brooke, your wedding's on hold until you're not drowning in debt. The silence was heavy, broken only by the distant hum of a neighbor's lawnmower, likely Mr. Henderson, whose own scandal as a Ponzi scheme recruiter had exploded on Burlington's local Reddit threads, with posts like South End's shady secrets exposed, fueling gossip that now included our family's downfall. Clara Henderson, his daughter, had even been spotted whispering at the country club, her smug, poor Victoria, brought low by her own daughter, overheard by a friend and relayed to me, adding a bitter edge to my mission. Within 72 hours, I'd set up automatic payments for their mortgage and utilities, slashed their credit limits to $500 each, and scheduled weekly budget reviews with Benjamin Harris, whose steady reports kept me ahead of their attempts to skirt my rules. Victoria's first job came as a shock to her system part-time at a local bookstore, shelving novels and ringing up customers, her manicured nails now chipped from handling dusty hardcovers. This is humiliating, she hissed during our first check-in, her voice low as we sat in her kitchen, the once pristine counter now cluttered with unpaid bills. Humiliating is losing your home because you trusted a scammer over your own daughter. I shot back, pointing to her bank statement. $200 for a garden club donation? Cancelled. You're donating time now, not money. Brooke fared little better, landing a receptionist job at a dental clinic, her days now filled with answering phones and scheduling cleanings, a far cry from her Instagram posts posing at wine tastings. It's exhausting, she complained, slumping into a chair during our second meeting. Her engagement ring conspicuously absent. Derek, her fiancé, had pulled back, rattled by the gambling debts she'd hidden. A betrayal he aired in a tense coffee shop confrontation I'd overheard about, his "I can't marry into this mess" echoing in my mind. The new challenge came fast. Victoria's resistance. She tried sneaking a $700 spa day, claiming it was networking for her social circle, only for me to catch it via the banking app alerts I'd set up, a trick I'd learned from trending financial recovery blogs advocating tech-driven accountability. "You're treating us like children," she shouted, slamming her hand on the table, her face flushed with the same superiority she'd wielded when calling my career factory nonsense. I leaned in, unyielding. "You acted like children, Mom cashing out your retirement for a 25% return fantasy. This stops now." Brooke, meanwhile, tested me with smaller rebellions, like ordering $150 takeout for wedding vendor meetings, which I vetoed, redirecting her to cook at home, a skill she was learning via YouTube tutorials, a nod to the internet's DIY budgeting wave. The emotional shifts were dizzying. Satisfaction at their compliance warred with frustration at their grudging attitudes, and sometimes, late at night, I'd stare at Dad's letter, wondering if I was guiding them or punishing them. The control was intoxicating every decision, from Victoria's grocery list to Brooke's canceled manicures, passed through me, a stark reversal from years of their dismissal. "Wendy, why can't you be more refined?" Victoria once sneered when I chose work boots over heels for a family event. Now, those boots walked over their financial chaos. A month in, their progress was measurable but tense. The house was safe for now. The credit card balances down to $20,000 combined, and Benjamin reported no new debt, but the neighborhood buzz grew louder, with Clara Henderson's gossip spreading like wildfire. Her latest ex-post, "Some families fall hard when secrets unravel," number Burlington drama, got 200 likes, each one a needle in my pride. I pushed forward, enrolling them in a financial course I found via a viral Reddit thread, How I Climbed Out of $100 Kelvin's Debt. Its practical steps like cutting subscriptions and negotiating bills now their lifeline. Victoria's bookstore shifts forced her to face old garden club friends as customers, their pitying glances a blow to her ego, while Brooke's dental office job exposed her to coworkers who didn't care about her former socialite status. They laugh when I mess up the scheduling software, Brooke admitted, her voice small. I didn't realize how hard your job must be, Wendy. That rare acknowledgement sparked a flicker of hope, but I stayed firm. You're learning what it means to earn, not just spend. By the 6th week, their budgets were tight but functional. Victoria's $2,800 monthly income now covered essentials, with my funds bridging the gap, and Brooke's $1,500 receptionist pay chipped away at her gambling debts. The lawsuit threat from the scammers fizzled, as Benjamin confirmed their claims were baseless, a common intimidation tactic exposed in online scam recovery forums, giving us breathing room. The house felt different now, less like a museum and more like a home in repair, with Victoria grudgingly selling her designer wardrobe on Poshmark to cover small expenses, a move I'd suggested after seeing it trend on financial TikToks. Yet, as I drove home one evening, the Burlington skyline glowing under a crisp autumn moon, I sensed the shift. They were complying, but the real test was whether this discipline would stick or if their old habits would resurface, threatening the fragile stability we'd built. Victoria's quiet. Thank you, Wendy, during our last meeting. Her voice softer than I'd ever heard, hinted at a change, a grudging respect replacing her scorn, setting the stage for whatever closure lay ahead. As the autumn leaves gave way to the first flurries of winter in Burlington, blanketing the South End neighborhood in a quiet hush, I found myself back at the family home for what felt like the final chapter in our tumultuous saga. The colonial mansion now stripped of its former grandeur with bare walls, where art once hung, and a for sale sign looming in the yard, a practical downsizing I'd insisted on to prevent future financial pitfalls. Victoria's tentative gratitude from our last meeting had evolved into something more profound over the months, her bookstore job grinding away at her pride until it reshaped into humility, while Brooke's receptionist role at the dental clinic had forced her to confront the grind of everyday work. Her scaled-back wedding, now a modest courthouse affair, without the lavish trimmings she'd once dreamed of on Pinterest boards. The air inside the house carried a faint scent of chamomile tea, a budget-friendly comfort Victoria had adopted from online frugal living tips trending on TikTok under number Toxic Family Recovery, where survivors shared stories of reclaiming power from narcissistic parents, echoing our own journey in ways that made me scroll late at night, seeking validation for the mixed emotions swirling within me. We gathered in the living room one crisp December evening, the fireplace crackling softly as the only luxury left untouched, and Victoria broke the silence first, her voice steady but laced with regret. Wendy, I've been wrong about everything. Your career at Velmark, managing those massive deals, it's not factory work. It's real success. The kind I pretended to have while destroying ours. I'm sorry for locking you out, for making you feel like a disappointment when you were the only one with vision. Brooke nodded, her eyes glistening under the warm lamplight. Me too, sis. I mocked your ambition because it highlighted my own shortcuts, the gambling, the scheme. You saved us, and I see now how hard you've worked to build what we squandered. Their apologies hung in the air, a balm on old wounds, but the empowerment I felt was tempered by sadness, the victory hollow, as I reflected on the family bonds forever altered by their betrayal and my enforced control. The social fallout had been brutal. Victoria's garden club friends distanced themselves after whispers of her fall from grace spread through Burlington's elite circles. Clara Henderson's gossip amplifying the shame with her viral Facebook post about families crumbling under poor choices, racking up shares that mirrored the internet's fascination with toxic family takedowns, like those Reddit AITA threads where disowned kids turned the tables. Brooke faced her own consequences, Derek ultimately calling off the engagement after discovering her hidden debts, leaving her to rebuild alone, her once vibrant social media now filled with motivational quotes about resilience rather than filtered glamour shots. Yet, in this moment of closure, a final twist emerged when Brooke handed me another envelope from Dad's old desk, her hands steady. I found this while packing, addressed to all of us. Inside was a letter, dated just before his passing. My dear girls, if greed or pride tears you apart, remember, true wealth is in forgiveness and growth. Victoria, let go of the facade. Brooke, chase real dreams. Wendy, lead with compassion. Rebuild together. The words pierced me, adding a new perspective that softened my resolve. Dad hadn't just trusted me to fix things, he'd hoped for healing beyond the finances. Tears welled as we hugged, a fragile reconciliation blooming amid the ruins, my control easing into guidance as they continued their jobs and budgets with newfound commitment. Looking back on that year of disowning, discovery, and dominance, I realized the revenge had been poetic, but bittersweet, empowering me while exposing the emptiness of winning at the cost of what could have been a loving family. Still, as I drove away under the starry Vermont sky, the house shrinking in my rear view, I felt a quiet strength. I'd not only survived their toxicity but thrived, turning their downfall into my ascent. If you've got a toxic family story that turned into revenge or redemption, drop it in the comments below. Let's share and support each other through these wild rides.